I took two brains because I wanted to see which one is the best. So sorry, I'm sorry. I may have to do this deal here. So I want you to not to do this number here like a cutting bread. You know what I'm saying? I want you to do like bam, like so, one move. Okay, and you just move to.
How?
Make sure it's nice and vertical so that you're nice and central. Okay. You see one fell swoop like that, one move, none of this zigzaggy like a chainsaw, don't do that. That way you get a clean cut like so, and hope you're in the middle. You know what I'm saying? I kind of got lucky here because I was in the middle. Guys. Okay, now let's do the internal part. Okay, this is what we call. Are you listening, guys? Are you guys? Come closer too, so you can see. So this is the upper vitae, which is the arrangement of the white matter in the cerebellum. You see, it looks like a tree, looks like a leaf, and stuff like that. So this right here would be the. This would be the corpus callosum. Remember the one that I said there's 300 million nerves fibers crisscrossing from the left to the right side of the brain. It connects the cerebral hemispheres. Is the major connector of the left and right cerebral hemispheres. Corpus callosum, and below it is the fornix. You see this thin film separating the two lateral ventricles. You see this little thin one? You can never cut in the middle of that because it's way too thin. You usually cut it and it goes to one side, and then the other side will have nothing. This is the septum pellucidum. Okay, that thin sheet of tissue that separates the two lateral ventricles. You remember the lateral ventricles are the largest. Okay, so septum pellucidum. And in the exam, I'll be specific what I'm asking. Okay, I could put a pin over there, and I'm talking about what's that thin sheet of tissue that separates the lateral ventricles or the chambers of the brain, so that it doesn't give you too much of a hint. Then you say septum pellucidum, or I could say what's that chamber of the brain. Then you say lateral ventricle. You see what I'm saying? So lateral ventricle could be here too. I could put it there. In the lateral ventricle, you will see the problem on this side. What we call the choroid plexus. Remember the choroid plexus that are lined with the pendymal cells that produce cerebrospinal fluid. They will be located in there, and this is them. You see these bits, like that. And this, by the way, is the third ventricle. Third ventricle. Okay, the one here. And this right circular structure here is the thalamus. So if you put a pin in here, you say thalamus, corpus callosum, fornix, that thin sheet of brain tissue separating the two lateral ventricles will be the septum pellucidum, and therefore the lateral ventricle is right here in there. And then you see a lot of choroid plexus in there too. This may probably be the remnants of it. There's a little white dot right here. Okay, maybe you can see it, maybe it's not just me. That is what's called the, see right there, the anterior commissure. The anterior commissure is the second part that connects the left and right ventricles. The left and right cerebral hemispheres, and the major part is the corpus callosum. You see? So it's just axon connecting the two like that. It's a bundle of axons. Third ventricle, okay? And this one I cut. Sometimes if you're not cutting in the middle, it goes all to one side and you see like a dimple on the other side. But I got lucky, you see. I'm right in the middle. So you see half of the pineal gland, or the pineal body, the one that produces melatonin. And you see this sort of squiggly line going down from it. You see right there? That line there is the posterior commissure. Okay? And then this little dot up front is the anterior commissure. This is the front and this is the back. It's the posterior commissure. And then this right here, see this sort of darkish part is the anterior colliculus. All right? Anterior colliculus. And this here, you see this squiggly part here, that's like that. It's part of the midbrain, and it is, all in all, it's called the corpora quadrigemina for that. And this is the one that has the two parts. The two superior colliculi up here for the visual reflexes. Remember we did that. And then the inferior colliculi down here. So there's four bodies. There's 2 inferior colliculi for those hearing reflexes, right? And the 2 superior colliculi for the visual reflexes. So all 4 of them, we call them the corpora quadragemina. So in this exam, if I put a pin over here on this squiggly white part here, you say corpora quadragemina, okay? Don't have to say superior inferior collicular. Okay? So that you just do it as one. You say corpora quadragemina. And this right here, you see this nice and groovy thing, is the cerebral aqueduct. It joins the 3rd ventricle to the 4th ventricle under the thing. What do you call this? Under the cerebellum. Okay? And it's posterior to the, this is the medulla oblongata, okay? The medulla oblongata. And this is the pons. See the pons is the middle part. So this is the brainstem, and then this is part of the midbrain, which we say the corpora quadragemina. We get the superior colliculi and inferior colliculi right there. But for this exam, corpora quadragemina, anterior colliculus, pineal gland or pineal body, and then there is a picture in the handouts that has this view showing all these things labeled up, and this is the posterior commissure. This is the thalamus. The thalamus is where everything is relayed through except the sense of smell in some situations. Okay, and then right under this would be the hypothalamus. Okay, like I said, the pineal gland is always truncated, it's always cut because it's connected by a thin stalk, the infundibulum, and it sits in the cella tussica, right? And it's very small, so it always gets chopped off when they remove these brains, okay? So you won't see that down there, but you will, if I put a pin here, hypothalamus, thalamus, okay? And this is the optic chiasm. See where the optic nerve is? See right there? So this is the optic chiasm, where the optic nerves cross like so. Okay?
Can you turn it this way?
Optic chiasm.
Okay.
Hypothalamus, thalamus, pineal body, posterior commissure, corpora quadragemina, anterior colliculus, cerebral aqueduct, 4th ventricle, 3rd ventricle, fornix, corpus callosum, okay, and these are remnants of the choroid plexus that are found in there, and you can see some of it right there. And then therefore this is the thalamus and hypothalamus, okay, and then this little white dot right there will be the anterior colliculus, right there, anterior colliculus. And can you see it on this side too? It will be right there too. So but on this side we can see it kind of sort of blends in, but you can see this secular hopefully when you cut yours. Okay, so those are the parts of the internal parts. So in the brain, in the exam I have 15 questions for the brain, so including the nuclei inside, the ventricles, and then the parts on the outside, the lobes of the brain, and then the cranial nerves. So that makes 15 questions, and then 10 maybe for the heart, 10 for the, can you bring my heart real quick? What time is it?
Where's the amygdala?
It will be inside here. We won't see it here because we are central, but it's somewhere in this region here because the amygdala, the